First contact shock. The primary sensory node in Vilara's cranial ridge pulsed with an unfamiliar alert pattern, causing her to jolt upright at her monitoring station. In her 8 cycles as a detection specialist aboard the Xanthari Confederation outpost Distant Whisper, she had never encountered this particular signal configuration. Anomaly detected in Sector 12 Delta, she reported, her 4-fingered hands gliding across the luminescent interface. The readings made absolutely no sense. The unknown vessel's energy signature matched nothing in the Confederation's vast database, which contained profiles of every spacefaring civilization across 23 galaxies. Station Commander Jory floated toward her on his gravity harness, his translucent exoskeleton displaying flickers of concerned amber. Explain, Specialist. Commander, I'm detecting a vessel composed of materials that... Vilara hesitated as the analysis completed. That shouldn't be possible. The propulsion system appears to use controlled quantum displacement with gravitational manipulation. That's purely theoretical technology. Commander Jory's bioluminescent spots flashed with skepticism. Run the diagnostic sequence again. This must be sensor degradation or cosmic interference. But the second and third scans confirmed the initial findings. Whatever this ship was, it belonged to no known species and operated using principles that the Confederation's finest minds had only theorized about. It's changing course, Vilara reported, her voice tightening as her secondary respiratory sacs constricted with anxiety. Approaching on an intercept vector. Estimated arrival: 36 units. The command center erupted into frantic activity as senior officers debated the appropriate protocol for encountering an unknown species with superior technology. Vilara barely registered their voices. Something about the vessel's design triggered a distant memory. She accessed the station's historical archives, searching through ancient records predating the Confederation. Deep in files marked as historical mythology, she found it. Records of a species called humans. According to legends from the pre-unification era, humans had been warriors of extraordinary adaptability, engineers who created impossible technologies, and explorers who ventured fearlessly into the unknown. They were said to have originated from a small planet called Earth in an unremarkable solar system. But no evidence of humans had ever been found. Most Xanthari scholars dismissed these accounts as fictional cautionary tales or cultural metaphors, until now. Commander, Vilara said, her voice wavering with the implications of her discovery, I believe this is a human vessel. The command center fell silent. Specialist Vilara, humans are mythological constructs, Commander Jory stated firmly. Fictional beings created to illustrate moral principles in ancient texts. With respect, Commander, she projected a magnified image of the approaching ship. The design matches ancient descriptions precisely. And look. She zoomed in on markings etched into the vessel's hull. UNSC Prometheus. These are human identifiers, according to historical records. Jory's exoskeleton pulsed with patterns indicating deep concern. If humans were real, and possessed such advanced technology millennia ago, where have they been all this time? The communications array suddenly activated. A transmission in an unknown language bypassed their encryption protocols with disturbing ease. The universal translator struggled momentarily before rendering the message. Xanthari Outpost. This is Captain Miyasato of the United Nations Space Command Vessel Prometheus. We come in peace. Please respond. The voice was calm but carried unmistakable authority. Commander Jory hesitated, then gestured for Vilara to open a channel. This is Commander Jory of the Xanthari Confederation. We welcome you. But I must inquire. We believe humans were merely legends. A strange rhythmic sound came through the channel that the translator identified as laughter. We've been busy, Captain Sato replied. After the collapse, we lost our interstellar capabilities. It's taken us nearly 800 years to recover what was destroyed and venture beyond our solar system again. Vilara's mind raced. The legends spoke of a great calamity that had befallen humanity, forcing their retreat from the galactic stage. The oldest texts called it the severing. We request permission to dock and establish diplomatic contact, the human continued. We bring knowledge and technology to share. Commander Jory looked around at his officers, who displayed various signs of astonishment and unease. Permission granted, Captain Sato. We will prepare for your arrival. As the transmission ended, Vilara couldn't contain her excitement. Commander, if the legends about humans are accurate, this changes everything we thought we knew about our history. The ancient texts claim humans were instrumental in forming the early alliances that eventually became the Confederation, before they mysteriously vanished. I am aware of the myths, specialist, Jory replied, his tone measured. But remember, legends often grow more impressive with time. We must approach this with scientific skepticism. 3 hours later, Vilara stood with the reception delegation as the airlock cycled open. She had expected the humans to wear protective suits in the Xanthari atmosphere, but Captain Sato and her crew stepped through unprotected. They appeared remarkably similar to Xanthari, despite having only 2 arms instead of 4 and lacking cranial sensory nodes. Captain Maya Seto was shorter than Vilara had imagined a mythical being would be. Her skin was a rich brown, her eyes dark and alert. She wore a fitted blue uniform with silver insignia that matched the symbols on their ship. On behalf of humanity, I thank you for your welcome, Captain Seto said, executing a formal bow that perfectly matched ancient Xanthari greeting protocols, knowledge that should have been lost to time. Commander Jory performed the reciprocal gesture. Your arrival is unexpected. Our historians believe humans to be fictional beings. Sato smiled, revealing white teeth, another similarity to Xanthari physiology that seemed improbable. We've been gone a long time, Commander. After the quantum gate network collapsed, each human colony was isolated. Many fell. Earth itself nearly perished. We've spent centuries rebuilding, rediscovering, and now, reconnecting. Later in the conference chamber, Captain Sato displayed holographic records that confirmed the unbelievable truth. Humans had once been the dominant spacefaring civilization in this sector of the galaxy. They had made first contact with 17 species, including the Proto-Xanthari, before a catastrophic event involving their primary faster-than-light technology had forced their withdrawal. Why return now? Asked Jory. Captain Seto's expression grew serious. Because the threat that caused us to create the gate network in the first place is returning. We've detected signals from the outer rim. The Void Heralds are awakening again. The name sent shivers through Vilara's sensory nodes. The Void Heralds featured in Xanthari's oldest and darkest legends, beings of living darkness that consumed entire worlds. Those are just ancient horror stories, one of the senior officers protested. No, replied Sato firmly. They were very real. Your ancestors fought alongside ours against them, before the knowledge was lost to myth. And now we need each other again. As proof, she revealed a device that projected images of massive shadow entities engulfing planetary systems, recordings from humanity's ancient archives, and new observations from their deep space probes. Commander Jory's exoskeleton had turned a pale blue, the Xanthari equivalent of ashen-faced shock. If what you say is true, it is, Seto affirmed. And we don't have much time. The heralds are still dormant, but stirring. Together, we might stand a chance. Separately, she left the implication hanging. As the briefing continued into the night cycle, Vilara found herself working closely with the human science officer, Dr. Elias Chen, comparing historical records to separate fact from fiction in both their culture's understanding of the past. It's fascinating, Dr. Chen remarked as they reviewed parallel accounts of ancient battles. Our civilizations literally forgot each other, transforming history into mythology. How could we forget something so significant? Vilara asked, struggling to reconcile her world's understanding with these revelations. Time, Chen said simply, and trauma. After the severing, both our peoples nearly went extinct. Cultural knowledge was preserved, but context was lost. He indicated a Xanthari text describing sky warriors with fire spears, clearly referring to human soldiers with energy weapons. As dawn cycle approached, Captain Sato and Commander Jory emerged from private discussions. Their decision would alter the course of both civilizations forever. The Xanthari Confederation would join forces with the resurgent human fleet. Ancient alliances, forged in blood and sacrifice, then forgotten to time, would be renewed to face the darkness gathering at the galaxy's edge. And Vilara, who had discovered humans were more than myth, would become the first Xanthari liaison officer aboard the UNSC Prometheus. Alliance under fire. The UNSC Prometheus hummed with activity as it led a joint Xanthari human expeditionary force toward the Cassiopean Drift. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and the newly formed alliance was advancing to establish an early warning system against the Void Heralds. Vilara found human ships fascinating, simultaneously primitive and advanced. They lacked the organic integration of Xanthari vessels, instead relying on mechanical systems controlled by artificial intelligence constructs. Yet their quantum displacement drives were centuries ahead of Confederation technology. Still adjusting to our clunky metal boxes, Dr. Chen asked as he joined her at the observation deck. They're less alive than our ships, Vilara admitted, but remarkably resilient. That's humanity in a nutshell, Chen smiled. Less elegant, more stubborn. Their conversation was interrupted by a proximity alert. Captain Sato's voice echoed through the ship. All hands to battle stations. Unknown vessels approaching at high velocity. Vilara and Chen rushed to the bridge. The tactical display showed 3 massive ships of unfamiliar configuration decelerating from FTL speeds directly in their path. Configuration matches no known signature, reported the tactical officer. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. When the message came through, it wasn't in any language the translators recognized. Just a repeating pattern of sounds that made Vilara's sensory nodes ache. That signal pattern. Commander Jory, who had temporarily transferred to the Prometheus as the Xanthari liaison, approached the communication station. It's similar to warning glyphs found in our most ancient ruins. Captain Seto's expression hardened. Scan for quantum resonance patterns. If these are Herald Scouts, they'll have distinct energy signatures. Before the scan could complete, the lead alien vessel fired. A beam of coherent darkness, not energy, but an absence of it, lanced toward the Prometheus. The ship's shields flared brilliantly before failing. Direct hit to engine decks, shouted the damage control officer. Quantum displacement drive offline. Return fire, all batteries. Sato ordered. The Prometheus shuddered as its main guns launched salvos of quantum-tipped missiles. The Xanthari vessels moved into defensive formation, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescent energy as they charged weapons. Those aren't heralds, Chen said, studying the sensor readings. Similar energy pattern, but different. Vanguard species, Jory suggested. The legends speak of servant races that preceded the Herald's awakening. A second attack disabled 2 Xanthari cruisers. The enemy vessels moved with impossible speed, their dark hulls absorbing weapons fire with minimal damage. Conventional weapons are ineffective, Sato noted grimly. Alternatives. Vilara studied the enemy ships, noticing something peculiar about their movement patterns. Captain, they're avoiding direct exposure to the nearby star. Their trajectories keep them in the shadow of the larger planetoids. Chen's eyes widened. Light sensitivity. That would align with their energy signature being darkness-based. Can we use that? Sato asked. Vilara and Chen exchanged glances, an impromptu cross-species scientific collaboration forming. The Xanthari Luminous Defense System, Vilara suggested, originally designed to disorient predator species on our homeworld. If we could adapt it and couple it with our quantum resonance amplifiers, Chen continued, we could create a cascading light wave that disrupts their energy field. Sato nodded sharply. Make it happen. How long? 20 minutes to reconfigure the systems, Chen estimated. You have 10, Seto replied as another hit rocked the ship. While engineers from both species worked frantically to modify their weapons, the fleet fought a desperate holding action. 3 more ships were crippled, and the Prometheus took heavy damage to its starboard hull. They're hurting us, Jory observed as the tactical display updated, driving us toward the gas giant's dark side, where the heralds can manifest more easily, Seto agreed. We can't let that happen. 9 minutes later, Chen reported success. Luminous resonance system online, but untested. It will require all remaining power, including life support reserves. If it fails, we won't need life support anyway, Seto said grimly. Target all 3 vessels and fire. The modified weapon activated. Instead of conventional energy, it projected a sphere of intense, structured light that expanded outward at relativistic speed. When it reached the enemy vessels, it didn't impact them. It enveloped them, creating a photonic prison that intensified to blinding brilliance. The enemy ships' movements became erratic. Their hulls, which had absorbed conventional weapons with ease, began to fracture as light penetrated the cracks. It's working, Vilara exclaimed, her sensory nodes pulsing with excitement. Not for long, Chen cautioned. The system is already overloading. Indeed, the light sphere was beginning to destabilize. 2 of the enemy vessels had sustained significant damage, but the third was breaking free. 1 more push, Seto ordered. Divert emergency reserves. As the engineers complied, warning lights flashed across every console. The Prometheus groaned as power was channeled beyond safety limits. The light sphere pulsed once more, intensifying beyond measurable levels. When it finally collapsed, the enemy vessels were drifting, their dark hulls cracked open to reveal machinery unlike anything either humans or Xanthari had encountered. Technology that seemed to merge mechanical and biological components with something else entirely. We did it, Chen breathed, sagging against a console. For now, Seto replied, her expression grim as she surveyed the damage reports. But if these were just scouts? Analysis of the defeated vessels provided disturbing confirmation of ancient legends. The ships belonged to the Noctis Collective, a species genetically and technologically modified to serve as harbingers for the Void Heralds. Their presence indicated that the main Herald force was indeed awakening, just as human intelligence had suggested. Equally troubling was the discovery that the Noctis had been monitoring both human and Xanthari space for centuries, gathering intelligence while remaining undetected. In the aftermath of the battle, as repair crews worked to restore the damaged fleet, Captain Seto convened a joint council in the Prometheus's briefing room. This encounter changes our timeline, she began without preamble. The Heralds are not stirring. They're awake and mobilizing their forces. The warning system we planned to establish would already be too late. Commander Jory's exoskeleton displayed patterns of deep concern. The Confederation is not prepared for full-scale war. Most of our worlds have never even heard of the Heralds beyond children's tales. Neither is Earth, Seto admitted. We're still rebuilding from the collapse. That's why we need to take the fight to them before they're fully organized. The room erupted in shocked responses from both species. A preemptive strike against a legendary enemy seemed like suicide. How? Vilara asked, her voice cutting through the commotion. We barely defeated 3 scout ships. Sato nodded to Chen, who activated a holographic display showing a strange device of unmistakably human design. This is the Prometheus Protocol, Seto explained. Named after our ship, which was itself named for a figure from human mythology who stole fire from the gods to help humanity. What does it do? Jory asked. It inverts the quantum displacement field that the Heralds used to transition between dimensions, Chen explained. Essentially, it locks them into a single state of existence, making them vulnerable. The original protocol was deployed during the First Herald War, Seto continued. It worked, but the energy requirements tore apart our quantum gate network. causing the severing that isolated human worlds for centuries. You're proposing to use it again. Jory's bioluminescence pulsed with alarm. Knowing the consequences, an improved version, Chen clarified. One that theoretically won't collapse civilization this time. Theoretically, muttered one of the human officers. Villara studied the hologram, her scientific mind already analyzing the principles involved. The device operated on the same quantum principles that had proven effective in their improvised light weapon, but at a vastly greater scale. This could work, she said finally. But there's a problem. It would need to be deployed at the Herald's emergence point, in the heart of the Cassiopean void. A suicide mission, Jory stated. Not necessarily, Villara countered. An idea forming. Xanthari bioships are partially organic. With modifications, they could withstand the void environment longer than mechanical vessels, if we integrated human quantum technology with our biological systems. A hybrid ship, Chen said, catching her vision. Using the best of both technologies. Captain Seto studied them both. How long to develop this hybrid vessel? 3 months, minimum, Chen estimated. The Noctis will report our presence, Jory warned. We may not have 3 months. Then we work faster, Seto said firmly. And we prepare our worlds for what's coming. The Heralds are no longer legends or myths. They're a very real threat, and we'll face them together, as our ancestors did. As the council dispersed to begin preparations, Villara found herself standing with Chen before the viewport, watching repair drones swarm around the damaged fleet. Interesting how history repeats itself, Chen mused. Our species fought side by side once before, then forgot each other, and now we're allies again. Let's hope this time we remember, Villara replied, and that there's something left to remember. Beyond the fleet, the stars seemed to dim slightly as they gazed toward the Cassiopean drift, as if the darkness gathering there was already reaching out, testing the light's resistance, preparing for the war to come. In the ship's laboratory, the fragment of Noctis technology they had recovered pulsed with faint dark energy, sending an undetectable signal into the void, calling its masters to awaken fully and reclaim the galaxy that had once almost been theirs. The ancient cycle of light versus darkness was beginning again. But this time, humans and Xanthari stood together, determined to write a different ending to the story, one where the myths of destruction would not become reality.